Closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, sir. How many children do you have?
So my stepson Carson is a junior right-handed pitcher for us, and then my middle son Landon is a seventh grader at Clarksville Academy, and then our youngest son Lake, he's 9, and he is the one that eats leaves. Just it's all the kid does. So he lives in
man.
this field nonstop with all the rest of them. But
I
they
see.
love it, and yeah, it's a crazy world that my wife does a great job of holding together.
How long have you been married?
Her and I have been married. This is going into year 11. Yeah, been together 12 years, going into year 11. So
Nice. We just celebrated our 8-year anniversary,
nice.
March 14th. I didn't forget that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it goes quick. Or in her eyes, it may not go quick. It may seem like an eternity. But
Amen to that.
oh
So
yeah,
Lake is 9. Landon is how old?
he's 13.
13. And Carson is how old? He's a junior.
He's 17.
17. So I have Alexandria is 18. Amari is 14. They're my step babies, but my babies
Yeah.
nonetheless. My sons, Jeremy Jr., are 6 and 3. Jackson Monroe
Nice.
is 3.
Nice.
Yeah. So a little bit spread out. We got the older ones watching the younger ones, but the younger ones are mature enough to also watch the older ones, so it works out just fine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
nothing like built-in babysitting, right?
Yeah, you ain't lying. It helps.
That's good. So they all play ball?
Yeah. Lake plays baseball and football. And of course, Carson, all he does is play baseball now. And then Landon actually plays football and soccer, which I know absolutely nothing about, which is kind of a good thing. So I can just sit back and relax and watch him do that. But he loves that. So it's cool to see him be the one do something a little bit different. But
Right.
it's
Now,
cool.
I listen. So I coached little league, like 9 to 13-year-olds football, and then I coached 1 year in high school. I was the junior varsity defensive coordinator and the varsity defensive line coach.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm a bit obsessed, and I love talking to coaches because most of the time they're a bit obsessed too.
Oh yeah.
So
Always.
with your son playing soccer, were you like, okay, let's look into this soccer thing. How does this work?
You know, his mom's aunt, she
Closed mouths don't get fed. 17. So I have Alexandria is 18. Amari is 14. They're my step babies, but my babies
Yeah.
nonetheless. My sons, Jeremy Jr., are 6 and 3. Jackson Monroe
Nice.
is 3.
Nice.
Yeah. So a little bit spread out. We got the older ones watching the younger ones, but the younger ones are mature enough to also watch the older ones, so it works out just fine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
nothing like built-in babysitting, right?
Yeah, you ain't lying. It helps.
That's good. So they all play ball?
Yeah. Lake plays baseball and football. And of course, Carson, all he does is play baseball now. And then Landon actually plays football and soccer, which I know absolutely nothing about, which is kind of a good thing. So I can just sit back and relax and watch him do that. But he loves that. So it's cool to see him be the one do something a little bit different. But
Right.
it's
Now,
cool.
I listen. So I coached little league, like 9 to 13-year-olds football, and then I coached 1 year in high school. I was the junior varsity defensive coordinator and the varsity defensive line coach.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm a bit obsessed, and I love talking to coaches because most of the time they're a bit obsessed too.
Oh yeah,
So
always.
with your son playing soccer, were you like, okay, let's look into this soccer thing. How does this work?
You know, his mom's aunt, she played soccer at Austin P while we were up there. So there was that background there because obviously I had none whatsoever. So when he was up there, he started doing a little bit of rec soccer and kind of fell in love with it. And now he plays for the middle school and, does rec on the side. So, it's cool to see it. I mean, we get out in the yard and he actually shows me drills that he needs to do. So that's kind of cool. And I just run him through that because I think when you're a coach, it doesn't matter if you know the sport or not, as long as you can be organized and motivational, the kids can get something out of it. Now, obviously, you have to have some sense of the fundamentals of whatever the sport is, but as long as you can keep them engaged, especially at the younger ages, that goes a long way, even if your content knowledge might not be there.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar, Coach. So I love how you say engaged and, as long as you're enthusiastic, right?
Yeah.
So you have to have a degree of knowledge about the sport. You have to have a degree of passion. So that's where the head meets the heart, so to speak.
Yep.
Right. So there's a movie I love with Morgan Freeman. It's called Lean on Me. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Enthusiasm is not the enemy of discipline, right?
That's right.
I took that to heart as a little kid, man. Yeah. So how do you create little leaders on your team? Because the leaders on the field become an extension of a coach, and so your coaching philosophy sort of you create all of these arteries and veins to where you're all connected.
Yeah, I think especially with the younger ages, it has helped me tremendously. Now I coach all ages, whether it's I'm doing lessons or doing camps or coaching my youngest son's team. And I started that when he was 6, all the way up to the high school level. Just especially in the game of baseball, we have to constantly keep them motivated and moving, because unless a kid really loves baseball, it can be boring to them. It's not fast-paced like basketball. It's not fast-paced, like football. So my practices, especially for the younger kids, we're constantly doing group and drill work. Anytime I do coaching clinics.
Always working.
That's right. But we try to keep them constantly engaged so they don't feel like they're practicing. Now, obviously, when you get to the high school level, once they're middle school aged, even 12, 13, 14, then you have to start doing a little bit different things. But as far as creating the leadership, they follow you. If they see your excitement and your passion, and I am a very loud coach, and over the years, I realized that there are people that, for whatever reason, they take offense to that. I'm talking about opposing fans, opposing players, but I mean, that's just how I am. And I know that can come off bad to some people, but I'm not going to apologize for my passion. I think passion's a good thing as long as it is directed at your own team, at each other, instead of because we're in such a place now where some people take it as a look at me thing. When somebody bat flips after a home run, or somebody, yells after a strikeout, or a great catch is made in football, and, everybody's wanting to say, yeah, I think there's a fine line between letting the kids and the players be passionate while also regulating some respectability of the sport, of the of the integrity of the game. And I think to each his own, to how much you want to allow or not allow. But we're in a world now where they want instant, I don't want to say gratification, but I guess I'll say it. They want to be able to get on their phones, press a button, and find the information they want to see.
Yes.
So we have to watch how we handle them. Like, success isn't that way. Success is not an app on your phone that you can just access and boom, there you have it. It's a slow process sometimes. And sometimes these kids, they don't realize that. So the leaders that we have today, they understand that it is a process, and they are the ones that has to make sure everybody else sticks to that process.
Is that, in a nutshell, your coaching philosophy?
Probably now. You know, I do a lot of the same thing. This is going into year 17 here at Spring Hill High School. This is year 17 at Spring Hill High School. It is my 20th year coaching overall. I literally, as soon as I finished up playing at Austin P, I started coaching that next fall. I was the pitching coach at Columbia State for 2 years, middle school coach at E.A. Cox for 1 year, and then took over this position when I was 26. So my philosophy, you know, I'm 42 years old now. I was 26 when I started. You know, my seniors that year were only 5-6 years younger than me, you know, some of them. So it's kind of crazy to think about that. So a lot of my things have stayed intact, but if you don't evolve as a coach, you get left behind. I mean, you really do. I mean, I started this in 2006. Think about how many things have changed from 2006 to 2020. We're having to deal with so much more now. You know, social media and all these things have made the game so much more. I don't like to say difficult. I really don't. But a lot of people do say it's made coaching more difficult. And I think it's only difficult if you allow it to be. You know, kids have been kids since the beginning of time. Coaches in the 60s and 70s had to deal with things. The 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. You know, the high school athlete as a whole has evolved some, but you still have things that you have to regulate and you have to discipline. So I think if you don't evolve and your coaching philosophy doesn't evolve, you are not going to be in this business very long.
That's incredible. So that's one of the things we talked about before. We had the question, are kids soft? Right. And so what we ended up doing was better defining what soft meant. And it was lack of discipline, lack of focus, and things like that. So we try to change the terminology and change the narrative that kids are soft. And kids just have, it's not kids are soft. I think the adults involved in kids, any way, shape, or form, they just have more to compete with. And my whole thing is I never shied away from competition. I love it. I'm a competition junkie. My kids and I race to see who can get dressed the fastest, brush their teeth the fastest, right? And get buckled up in the car the fastest. Like, everything for us is competition. I've created a couple of little monsters in the wake of all that, but it's part of it. So what I challenge parents of student athletes and teachers and coaches to do is to say, these kids they lack discipline, enthusiasm, and focus. Okay, so what? So what? Find a way to get these kids in line, like every coach and parent and teacher that's done since the beginning of coaching, parent, and teaching. And I think that's something that's really important. So what are some of the obstacles that you've had to deal with in your 17-year tenure at Spring Hill that you've overcome?
You have to, number one, you have to read your team. If you try to do, and that's one thing that I've gotten better at as a coach over the years, is while something may have worked with a team 5 years ago, it may not work for the team this year. And if you continue to try to do the same thing over and over, Sure, there are things we do in our program that we have done that I've implemented since day one. Um, especially a lot of our core values, how we're going to act, how we're going to dress, how our appearance is going to be on the field. We still make sure that our hair is nice and neat and trimmed and we're clean shaven during the
Mm-hmm.
season. And that may be an old way of doing things, but I figure it's worked for the New York Yankees since the beginning of MLB. So we do it too. Um, tucking our shirts in, that's a big thing with us. And I tell them all the time that absolutely makes no difference on how good of a baseball player. It
Right.
absolutely does not make you a better athlete, a better player. But if you know that that is something that is asked of you that you've got to do every single day, you are making yourself disciplined. You know, I don't go to their houses to check, but I tell them every day when you get up, you should make your bed. Um, that's one of our things. There was a military officer, I don't remember off the top of my head. We watched it when he first did it, but he gave a commencement speech at a
Mm-hmm.
college graduation. And he said, if you don't do one thing right the entire day, when you get up, make your bed, you've done one thing right. You were disciplined enough to do that one thing. And if you can start your day doing one disciplined thing, you've already got the day started off on a good foot. So just stuff like that we try to implement. And that doesn't even have anything to do with the game. That is more about life. If they can do things like that, then it's going to help them when they leave here. Because I don't remember, again, top of my head, how many hundreds of players that I've coached in my 17 years, but only 64 have went on to play the collegiate level. Now that's a lot. That's a
Right.
lot of dudes going on to play college in a short amount of time, but more than that go on to just life, because they're all eventually just going to be, in the game of life. So we try to prepare them for that as much as we do game day on the field.
That's incredible, and it's funny. I was born in Dallas, Texas, and raised in Tennessee most of my life, and yeah, so I've been born into being a Cowboys fan and Texas University fan, right? Hook 'em horns and all that. So I remember that adjustment speech. I feel like it was 2014 or so. I feel like it was Admiral William. I'm gonna mess this name up. William H. McRaven, maybe. And that's one of the things. So I used to work with Alzheimer's dementia patients in an adult daycare, basically. And there was a retired colonel there, and I said, as a colonel, how did you get thousands of men and women to all line up, believe what you're saying, and then act on it? And he says, "Oh, that's easy. You set the standard, and you lower it for nothing." And he talked about the psychology behind getting those wins first thing in the morning, right? What they
Yeah.
found in science, and it's true in religion too. I don't know if you're a religious fella,
Yes,
but
sir.
yes, sir. So it's true. When my whole thing is the Venn diagram between religion and science. Whenever they meet in the middle there, you really need to pay extra care to that. And one thing that science and religion believes in is what you hear, what you say about yourself changes you on an intimate level. Now, science have actually measured this and see that if people say, "Yep, I'm strong, I'm strong, I'm strong," like literally on a molecular level, your bones actually become more dense. Your muscles recover faster just from saying things. There's an IKEA experiment that showcased the same thing. You got two plants. The only difference between them, same sun, same water. Only difference between them is a recorded loop of, "Man, you suck. You're the worst. You're gonna shrivel up and die." And the other one is, "Oh, you're such a great plant. You're gonna be the biggest plant in the world." One shriveled and died in a third of the time, and in that same amount of time, the other one that got the positive affirmations literally outgrew what they expected it to. So there's really something to that, setting the standard and just start with small victories. I tell my kids the same thing. Get yourself some small victories and then go out and create positive ripples in the world. So with you, I wanted to ask, how's the team when you took it over, and then how is it now, and then what's next for you all?
I get asked that all the time, like, how was it when I took over? And, obviously there's a lot of different directions you can go with that. And all I'll say is we were prepared to take it from where it was at to the next level. Not saying that where it was at was bad, was good, was average, whatever. We were just, and I say we because you have to surround yourself with people that want the same things that you did. So we wanted to have a complete shift in culture, and people don't realize how hard it is to create culture. It is nonstop. It is something that you can never take your foot off the gas pedal. There will be bumps along the way. There will be people that don't agree with it. So I was fortunate that I was surrounded by players and parents that wanted to shift everything as well. And we went from being a program that only had a district runner-up, which was actually when I was in high school in 1996. Spring Hill walked it off against Loretta, where I was from. That was the only piece of hardware that this school had. And 4 years later, the freshmen that came in with me led us to, state championship game in 2010. And then we just had an incredible run there, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 with runners up 10 and 12. And then we're in the state tournament all those years. And we finally, won it all in 16. But it was a mindset of, this is how we want it to be. This is how we want it to be perceived. I think now with all these camps that we do, it's crazy to see how much over the years now when I introduce our team at camps and I say, how many of y'all attended a Raider baseball camp when you were small? And 98% of our team raised their hand. And that's the thing that I think I'm most proud of. We have created a culture here in a town where, and I'll just say it, everybody knows it, Spring Hill's always kind of been, we're kind of in Murray County, we're kind of in Williamson County, our school has a Columbia address, but we're, here. But you were here when Spring Hill was little bitty Spring Hill. I don't know when the last time you came back was, but obviously all the changes that have taken place, and the growth is incredible. We'll have a new high school going up very soon, actually in Spring Hill, named Battle Creek High School. What that's going to do to the student population for a little bit here, I don't know, but with all the housing around, it's going to go right back up. So that's the thing we've been the proudest of, is no matter how much change there has been around here, we've maintained our culture. And it's been cool to create that small town feel culture within a single sport program, so it's something we're probably as proud of as all the championships and everything else. We're very proud of that.
And I did come back to see Jordan. Jordan is like, Brian and I are basically brothers. Been through a lot together. I've seen Jordan from a little bitty ugly alien baby to the handsome devil he is today. And I got to see him participate in the camp where you guys were showing the younger kids how to do stuff. And I was really impressed with how well your boys handled being over some other boys, So that culture is seeped into them, and that's gonna be beneficial to them on and off the field. Speaking of Jordan Zaydan, like, why is he your favorite player?
Hold on just a second. No, that's what I tell everybody. Everybody asks all the time, who's your favorite player on the team? I said, well, that's a question that I never answer. And even when my my youngest son gets up. That's not something you can say, but you know, he's worked hard. Um, we, you like every team that you have,
Mm-hmm.
you find different intricacies about every team, but we've left practice a lot this year and we've gone like this team, just like this team. We don't have a big arm. We don't have a low to mid 90s arm. We don't have a huge bat that's just going to, drop double digit home runs. What we do have is a lot of guys that want to go out there and play hard and win. Jordan in that group. We've just got a lot of guys that have a collective mindset of we're going to work hard and go out and do our jobs. And if that's good enough at the end of the day, then so be it. So that's the type of team that they are. And, I think so far this season, we've shown that a few times, that, district play starts today. Not long after I get off here with you, I'm going to be going down there with some of my classes and getting some stuff ready for our big district matchup with Paige today, who's, district play is district play. It doesn't matter who you're up against. Paige is a very talented team, so we look forward to playing those guys.
Right.
But, they're just a good team and they work hard. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask out of them, especially at the high school level. If you've got guys that are buying in and doing what you expect, at the end of the day, win or lose, you go home happy.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so I'll let you sign off here. But stick around. We gotta let the software do what the software is gonna do. But I really appreciate your time. I get any last words you want to say?
No, man, I appreciate you having us on. I know you've got some other great guys coming on too, so I'll be looking forward to listening to it. And you guys keep doing your thing.
I appreciate it, Coach. That's Coach Lamm of Spring Hill High School. Go Raiders.